My name is Noel Raines, and I'm 32 years old, standing on the front porch of my childhood home in Minneapolis, watching snowflakes dance in the yellow glow of the porch light. The house looks exactly the same as it did when I left for college 14 years ago. Imposing brick facade, perfectly manicured lawn now buried under December snow, and that heavy oak door that always made me feel like I was entering a courthouse rather than coming home. I adjust my worn messenger bag on my shoulder, the leather cracked from years of carrying laptops and tangled charging cables. Inside that bag is my entire office. A beat-up MacBook, 3 different programming notebooks, and a collection of USB drives that contain more lines of code than most people will see in a lifetime. To my family, though, it might as well be filled with lottery tickets and pipe dreams. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The truth is, I almost didn't come. Mom had been calling for 3 weeks, her voice getting more desperate with each voicemail. "Noel, honey, it's Christmas. The family should be together." What she didn't say, but what we both knew, was that Dad had probably grumbled about setting an extra place at the table. Arthur Raines doesn't believe in participation trophies, and in his eyes, I've been losing the same game for over a decade. When I was 12, I took apart our family's first computer just to see how it worked. I spent an entire weekend in the basement, surrounded by circuit boards and tiny screws, until I had it humming better than before. Dad found me there Sunday evening, oil smudged on my cheek, grinning like I'd discovered fire. He looked at the reassembled machine, then at me, and said, "Next time, ask permission before you break something expensive." That was the moment I realized we spoke different languages. He saw destruction where I saw curiosity. He saw worthless tinkering where I saw possibility. The front door swings open before I can knock, and Mom's face appears, framed by the warm light spilling from inside. Mary Raines has always been beautiful in that understated way. Soft gray hair, kind eyes, and a smile that could forgive almost anything. Almost Noel. She pulls me into a hug that smells like cinnamon and vanilla, the same perfume she's worn since I was little. "I was starting to worry you'd changed your mind." "Just running a little late," I lie. Though the truth is I've been sitting in my car for 20 minutes, working up the courage to walk to the door. She steps back, studying my face with that maternal radar that never quite shuts off. "You look thin. Are you eating enough?" Before I can answer, Colleen's voice cuts through the air from somewhere inside the house. "Is that the prodigal son?" My sister appears in the hallway, wine glass in hand, wearing what I'm sure is a designer dress that costs more than my rent. She's always been the golden child. Harvard Law, corner office, everything Dad wanted in a successor. "Hello, Colleen." I manage a smile. "Still living the freelance dream?" she asks, and there's something in her tone I can't quite place. Not mockery exactly, but not warmth either. The dining room table is a monument to my mother's perfectionism. Gleaming mahogany stretched beneath a crisp white tablecloth, crowned with her grandmother's china, and enough silverware to perform surgery. Crystal glasses catch the light from the chandelier above, casting tiny rainbows across the walls. Everything is precisely arranged, beautiful, and somehow suffocating. I take my usual seat, the one that's always been mine even though I haven't sat in it for 3 years. Dad occupies the head of the table like a king holding court, his posture military straight, despite his retirement from the Air Force 15 years ago. Jeremy sits to his right, scrolling through his phone with the casual arrogance of someone who's never doubted his place in the world. "So," Dad begins, carving the prime rib with surgical precision. "Jeremy closed another major deal this week. Tell them about the Henderson account." My brother straightens, his face lighting up the way it always does when he has Dad's attention. $15 million in managed assets. The client was impressed by our risk assessment models, said we were the most thorough firm he'd worked with. Outstanding. Dad's approval is warm, genuine. That's the kind of thinking that builds generational wealth. I focus on my plate, pushing green beans around with my fork. This is how it always goes. Jeremy's victories. Colleen's courtroom triumphs, and then the conversation awkwardly skips over me like I'm an empty chair. And Colleen, Mom chimes in, clearly trying to include everyone. Tell us about that big case you won. My sister launches into a story about defending a pharmaceutical company against a class action lawsuit. Her voice is animated, confident, and I watch Dad's face glow with pride. These are his children, successful, respected, everything he raised them to be. What about you, Noel? Mom asks gently. How's your work going? The question hangs in the air like smoke. I feel everyone's eyes on me, waiting for me to justify my existence at this table. It's going well. I'm working on some interesting projects. Projects? Dad repeats, the word dripping with disdain. Still doing that computer consulting thing? I develop software systems, logistics algorithms mostly. It's more complex than... For who? Jeremy interrupts. Any companies I'd recognize? I hesitate. The truth is, most of my work is contracted through anonymous clients who license my open source code. I never know who's actually using it, which is exactly how I prefer it. It's mostly freelance work. I build systems that help organizations optimize their distribution networks. Dad sets down his fork with deliberate precision. Noel, you're 32 years old. When are you going to get a real job? I have a real job. Working from your apartment? Taking contracts from people you've never met? He shakes his head. That's not a career, that's a hobby. My chest tightens. This is the conversation I've been dreading. The one that happens every time I'm foolish enough to think things might be different. Not everyone defines success the same way. Success? Dad's voice rises slightly. Son, look around this table. Jeremy manages hundreds of millions in assets. Colleen argues cases in federal court. Your mother volunteers on 3 different charity boards. What do you contribute? The words hit me like a physical blow. I can feel my face burning, my hands trembling slightly as I reach for my water glass. I contribute plenty. You just don't see it. What I see, Dad continues, his voice cold and measured, is a grown man who refuses to take responsibility for his life. You had every advantage: good education, family connections, opportunities most people dream of. And you've wasted all of it. The silence that follows is deafening. Mom's face is pale, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Colleen stares at her plate, suddenly fascinated by her mashed potatoes. Jeremy looks uncomfortable but doesn't intervene. I'm not a failure, I whisper. But the words feel hollow even as I say them. Dad's smile is bitter. Then prove it. The doorbell rings, cutting through the tension like a knife. We all freeze, forks halfway to our mouths, as the sound echoes through the house. Nobody moves. Are we expecting someone? Mom asks. Desable. The doorbell rings again, followed by 3 sharp knocks that seem to reverberate through my bones. The knocking continues, patient but insistent, and I watch Dad's face shift from irritation to curiosity. He's the kind of man who doesn't appreciate unannounced visitors, especially during family dinner. Mom starts to rise, but he waves her back down with a sharp gesture. I'll get it, he says, his voice still carrying the edge from our confrontation. Probably some kid selling something. He disappears into the hallway, and I can hear his heavy footsteps on the hardwood floor, followed by the sound of the front door opening. There's a moment of silence, then Dad's voice, confused and slightly strained. I'm sorry, can I help you? A warm, rich voice responds, carrying easily through the house despite being muffled by distance. Good evening, Arthur. I'm looking for Noel Raines. I believe he's having dinner with you tonight. My blood runs cold. Nobody calls me at my parents' house. Nobody even knows I'm here except for the 3 people sitting at this table with me. Jeremy raises an eyebrow, and Colleen sets down her wine glass with a soft clink. Noel? Dad's voice is louder now, calling back to us. There's someone here to see you. I push back from the table, my chair scraping against the floor. I don't know who that could be, I mutter, but my stomach is churning with a familiar anxiety. What if it's a client? What if something's gone wrong with one of my systems? What if... I round the corner into the foyer and stop dead. Standing in our doorway is a man who looks exactly like every mall Santa I've ever seen, except he's not wearing a costume. His red coat is rich wool, perfectly tailored, dusted with real snow that's slowly melting on the shoulders. His beard is full and white, his eyes a piercing blue that seems to look right through me. He's tall, broader than I expected, with hands that look like they could actually build toys or guide reindeer through a blizzard. "Noel," he says, and his smile is warm and genuine. There you are. I stare at him, my brain trying to process what I'm seeing. "I'm sorry, do we know each other?" "We do indeed." He steps into the foyer without invitation, stamping snow from boots that look handcrafted from leather I've never seen before, though we've never met in person. "I'm Kris Kringle, but you probably know me better as Santa Claus." Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Behind me, I hear Jeremy snort with laughter. Seriously? On Christmas Eve? That's a little on the nose, don't you think? But the man, Chris, Santa, whoever he is, doesn't seem to hear Jeremy. His attention is focused entirely on me, and there's something in his expression that makes my chest tighten. Respect. Genuine, unmistakable respect. "Mr. Raines," he says, and then does something that makes the world tilt sideways. He bows. Actually bows like I'm royalty or something. "It's an honor to finally meet you, sir." "Sir?" Dad's voice is sharp with disbelief. "What's this about?" The man straightens, brushing snow from his coat, and looks around at my family with the kind of casual authority that comes from centuries of practice. "I'm here to thank your son for saving Christmas." The silence that follows is so complete, I can hear the grandfather clock ticking in the living room. Mom appears in the doorway behind Dad, her face pale with confusion. Colleen and Jeremy have both gotten up from the table and are standing behind me, probably thinking this is some kind of elaborate prank. "Saving Christmas?" Colleen repeats slowly. "Indeed. Santa," and I can't believe I'm even thinking that name, reaches into his coat and pulls out what looks like a tablet, except it's glowing with a soft golden light that definitely doesn't come from any LED screen I've ever seen. "Noel, do you remember Parcel Perfect?" My knees almost buckle. Parcel Perfect was a side project I'd worked on 3 years ago, a logistics optimization system I'd built for fun and released as open source code. It was designed to handle complex distribution networks, calculating the most efficient routes for delivering packages to millions of addresses simultaneously. I'd spent months perfecting the algorithm, working late into the night because the mathematical elegance of the problem fascinated me. "How do you know about that?" I whisper. "Because," Santa says, his eyes twinkling with something that might be actual magic, "my organization has been using your system for the past 3 years. We've been licensing it through a shell company, Anonymous Logistics International. Perhaps you remember approving the license?" I do remember. ALI had been one of my biggest clients, paying substantial licensing fees for unlimited global use of my code. I'd never known what they were using it for, and I'd never asked. The money had been enough to keep me comfortable while I worked on other projects. "You're telling me," Dad says slowly, "that Noel's computer program is being used by Santa Claus?" "Not just used," Santa corrects. "Your son's algorithm revolutionized our entire operation. Before Parcel Perfect, Christmas delivery was a logistical nightmare. Reindeer routes that took all night, missed deliveries, children waking up to empty stockings because we couldn't optimize our flight paths efficiently." He touches the glowing tablet, and suddenly the air above it shimmers. A holographic display appears, showing a 3-dimensional map of the world, with thousands of glowing dots moving across it in intricate patterns. My breath catches because I recognize those patterns. They're the route optimizations from my algorithm, but scaled up to a level one never imagined possible. "With your system," Santa continues, We can deliver to every believing household on Earth in a single night. Reindeer work in coordinated teams, elves manage real-time inventory updates, and weather patterns are automatically factored into flight planning. It's magnificent. Jeremy is staring at the hologram, his mouth slightly open. That's actually incredibly sophisticated. Your brother, Santa says, looking directly at Dad, didn't just write a program. He created a system that brings joy to millions of children worldwide. Every Christmas morning, every excited squeal, every moment of wonder, it's all possible because of Noel's work. I can't breathe. This is insane. This is impossible. But the evidence is floating in front of me, and somewhere deep in my chest, a feeling I haven't experienced in years is starting to bloom. Pride. The hologram shifts, and suddenly I'm looking at lines of code I wrote 3 years ago, floating in golden light above Santa's tablet. But it's not just my code. It's been integrated into something far more complex, woven together with systems I don't recognize, but somehow understand. Magical algorithms that account for time zones, weather patterns, and something labeled belief density calculations. I don't understand, I whisper, watching my simple routing optimization dance through what appears to be a real-time Christmas Eve operation. This is impossible. Your code was elegant, Santa says, his voice filled with admiration. Clean, efficient, and most importantly, ethical. You included safeguards to prevent exploitation, optimization for low-income areas, and resource allocation that prioritized need over profit. Do you know how rare that is? I remember those nights hunched over my laptop, debugging and refining. I'd built in those safeguards because it felt right, because I couldn't stomach the idea of my work being used to make the rich richer while leaving others behind. My family had always seen that kind of thinking as naive. He's always been too soft, Dad mutters, but his voice lacks its usual conviction. Soft? Santa's eyes flash, and for a moment, I see something ancient and powerful behind the jolly facade. Arthur, your son's softness ensures that children in homeless shelters receive gifts alongside those in mansions. His algorithms prioritize orphanages, hospitals, and families struggling to make ends meet. He built compassion into mathematics. Mom's hand flies to her mouth, tears glistening in her eyes. Noel, is this real? I'm staring at the hologram, watching delivery routes I designed being executed by what appear to be actual flying reindeer. I think so, but I still don't understand how. Anonymous Logistics International, Santa explains, is one of our front companies. We've been operating in the modern world for decades, adapting to new technologies, new challenges. Your system didn't just improve our efficiency, it saved us. Climate change has made traditional routes unpredictable. Population growth has exponentially increased our workload. We were falling behind. The display shifts again, showing before and after comparisons. The before is chaos, inefficient routes, missed deliveries, exhausted reindeer. The after is beautiful in its precision, a synchronized dance of logistics that would make any operations manager weep with joy. Then we found Parcel Perfect, Santa continues. Open source, elegant, and built by someone who understood that true optimization means serving everyone, not just the profitable customers. You saved Christmas, Noel, literally. Jeremy is recording everything on his phone, his analytical mind probably trying to value what he's seeing. Colleen has gone completely silent, staring at me like she's seeing me for the first time. But it's Dad's face that stops me cold. The certainty is gone, replaced by something I haven't seen in years. Doubt. Not in me, but in his own judgment. Would you like to see it in person? Santa asks, his eyes twinkling with mischief. The North Pole Midwest Distribution Center is only 20 minutes from here. Before I can answer, he's guiding us toward the door. Mom grabs her coat without question, her eyes bright with wonder. Colleen follows, still silent but clearly intrigued. Jeremy pockets his phone and shrugs into his jacket, probably calculating the story value of whatever he's about to witness. Dad hesitates at the threshold. This is ridiculous. Arthur, Santa says gently, your son has been working for me for 3 years. The least you can do is see his office. We pile into Santa's sleigh, which looks suspiciously like a modified Tesla van with custom LED lighting, and drive through the snowy Minneapolis streets. The warehouse district is quiet on Christmas Eve, industrial buildings standing like sleeping giants against the winter sky. Santa parks in front of a nondescript building marked Seasonal Distribution, LLC. He places his hand on a scanner that definitely wasn't there a moment ago, and the loading dock door rolls open with a soft hiss. Welcome, he says, gesturing us inside, to the future of Christmas. The elevator descends far longer than should be possible, and when the doors open, I step into a wonderland of organized chaos. Conveyor belts stretch as far as I can see, carrying wrapped packages in precise formations. Elves. Actual elves, no taller than children but moving with adult efficiency, monitor holographic displays showing global delivery status. And at the center of it all, a massive screen displays my code, running in real time, coordinating thousands of operations simultaneously. Noel, a cheerful voice calls out. A small figure approaches, wearing a Santa hat and a shirt that reads, YULEBOT, 3000 technical support. Boss, you finally made it. I stare at the elf, then at the screen, then at my family's stunned faces. Boss, I whisper. Santa leads me away from the bustling operation floor to a quiet office overlooking the warehouse. Through the glass wall, I can see Mom chatting animatedly with a group of elves, her face lit up like a child's. Colleen is examining a holographic display with professional interest, while Jeremy furiously takes notes on his phone. Noel, Santa says, settling into a chair that somehow perfectly fits his large frame, I have a proposition for you. My heart hammers in my chest. What kind of proposition? I want you to join us officially. Chief Systems Architect and Human Liaison for the North Pole Initiative. You'd relocate here. We have excellent housing just outside the city, full benefits, unlimited research budget, and the chance to revolutionize how we bring joy to the world. I stare at him, overwhelmed. You're serious. Dead serious. Christmas is evolving, Noel. We need someone who understands both technology and human nature. Someone who codes with compassion. Through the window, I watch Dad standing alone near the entrance, arms crossed, jaw set. Even surrounded by literal magic, he looks skeptical. Hey, Ma. What about my family, I ask. What about them? Santa's voice is gentle but firm. You've spent 32 years trying to earn their approval. When will you start living for yours? The question hits me like a physical blow. I don't know if I can handle this level of responsibility. Santa smiles, the same warm expression that's comforted children for centuries. Noel, you've been handling it for 3 years. You just didn't know it. I look down at the warehouse floor, at the seamless operation powered by my code, at the elves who call me boss with genuine respect and affection. I need to think about it. Of course, but Christmas waits for no one. I'll need your answer by midnight. I find Dad standing in the parking lot, staring up at the falling snow. His breath forms small clouds in the cold air, and for a moment, he looks older than I remember, more fragile. Dad? He turns, his expression unreadable. Is this real, Noel? All of this? I think so. I move to stand beside him, our shoulders almost touching. I'm as surprised as you are. I don't understand any of it. His voice is quiet, lacking its usual authority. Elves, Santa Claus, magic computers. It's like something out of a fairy tale. Technology can seem like magic if you don't understand it. He's quiet for a long moment, then asks the question I've been dreading. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That I was working for Santa Claus. I didn't know myself until tonight. No. He turns to face me fully. Why didn't you tell us how important your work was? How many people you were helping? The question catches me off guard. Would you have believed me? Dad's silence is answer enough. We stand there in the snow, 32 years of misunderstanding stretching between us like a canyon. I called you a failure, he says finally. You did. I was wrong. The words are simple, but they carry weight I never expected. Not an apology exactly, but an admission that costs him something. I never needed you to understand my work, I say. I just needed you to believe in me. I should have. He looks back at the warehouse, where golden light spills from the windows. I should have seen it. You see it now. Too late. I consider the question, feeling snow collect in my hair. Maybe not. We return to the warehouse to find chaos. The good kind. Elves scurry between workstations, their movements precise and purposeful. The massive display screen shows Christmas Eve delivery progress. North America, 73% complete. Europe ramping up. Asia Pacific in full swing. Noel? Santa calls out, his voice carrying over the organized commotion. We have a problem. I hurry to the central command station, where a cluster of elves surrounds a holographic display showing the eastern seaboard. Angry red warnings flash across major metropolitan areas. Unexpected weather system, explains an elf wearing glasses and a headset. Ice storm moving faster than predicted. Denver, Kansas City, St. Louis, all experiencing severe conditions that weren't in our original calculations. I lean over the display, my mind automatically shifting into problem-solving mode. The routes I'd programmed assumed normal winter weather, but this storm is creating wind patterns that would ground traditional aircraft. What about the reindeer teams? They can handle it, Santa says, but we need to recalculate flight paths in real time. The storm is moving too fast for our standard overnight route adjustments. I stare at the data, watching weather patterns shift and merge. This is exactly the kind of scenario I'd built safeguards for, but I'd never seen it tested on this scale. I need access to the core system. Of course. Santa gestures to a workstation that looks like it was designed specifically for me. Ergonomic keyboard, multiple monitors, and processing power that makes my home setup look like a toy. My fingers fly across the keyboard, pulling up the routing algorithms I'd written years ago. The code feels familiar, like returning to a childhood home, but now I can see how it's been enhanced with what I can only describe as magical subroutines. Weather prediction models that account for supernatural flight capabilities. Belief density calculations that prioritize houses where children are still awake, waiting for Santa. Dad, I call out without looking up. Remember when I took apart your computer when I was 12? He moves closer, watching code scroll across the screen. You said you wanted to see how it worked. This is how it works. I isolate the problem. A cascade failure, where the storm's unexpected intensity is causing route optimizations to conflict with themselves. Everything is connected. Every line of code, every calculation, every decision. It's all part of a larger system. I implement a patch, creating dynamic weather buffers that allow the system to adapt in real time. The angry red warnings begin to fade, replaced by new route suggestions that work around the storm rather than through it. Impressive, Jeremy says from behind me. He's been watching everything with professional interest. You just rerouted global logistics in under 10 minutes. Not just logistics, Santa corrects. Christmas miracles. Every gift that reaches its destination tonight, every child who wakes up to find their wishes fulfilled, it's all possible because of what Noel just did. I lean back in the chair, watching the system stabilize. Green lights replace red warnings across the display. Flight paths reorganize themselves into elegant patterns that account for wind shear, ice formation, and the inexplicable physics of flying reindeer. Want to see it in action? Santa asks, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Before I can answer, he's leading me toward what I initially thought was a loading dock but now realize is something far more extraordinary. The overhead door rolls up to reveal not the parking lot, but a launching pad that extends into star-filled sky. And there, pawing at the ground with hooves that seem to generate their own soft light, are 8 reindeer harnessed to the most technologically advanced sleigh I've ever seen. The flight back to Minneapolis is a blur of starlight and impossible physics. I spent 3 hours in the sleigh with Santa, watching my algorithms guide us through the storm I'd helped reroute, delivering gifts to children across the Midwest. The reindeer moved through the sky like they were swimming through liquid starlight, and every successful delivery felt like a small miracle I'd helped orchestrate. Now I'm standing in my parents' driveway again, but everything has changed. The house looks the same: brick facade, perfect lawn, imposing oak door. But I'm not the same person who walked through it 6 hours ago. Santa's sleigh disappears into the night sky with a soft jingle of bells, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the weight of the decision I need to make. Chief Systems Architect for the North Pole Initiative. The title feels both impossible and inevitable. I find the front door unlocked, the house quiet, except for the soft murmur of voices from the living room. When I step inside, I see my family gathered around the Christmas tree, their faces illuminated by the warm glow of colored lights. "Noel," Mom says, rising from her chair, "there's something for you." She hands me a small wrapped box, no bigger than my palm, with a handwritten card attached. My name is written in Mom's careful cursive, and beneath it, in smaller letters, "I always knew." My hands shake as I open the envelope. Inside is a piece of paper that looks like it's been folded and refolded many times, the creases soft with age. I unfold it carefully and find myself staring at a photograph. Me at age 7, sitting cross-legged on the basement floor, surrounded by electronic components and tangled wires. In the background, barely visible, is a crayon drawing taped to the wall. It shows a stick figure in a red hat standing next to what might be a sleigh, and underneath, in my childish handwriting, "Santa's helper." The letter is brief, but every word feels like a small revelation. "My dearest Noel, I found this photograph in a box of your old school papers last month. I'd forgotten about it, but seeing it again made me remember the little boy who believed he could fix anything, help anyone, make the world better just by understanding how it worked. I never told you this, but I used to watch you in the basement for hours taking apart radios and computers, not to break them but to understand them. Your father saw destruction, but I saw curiosity. I saw compassion. I saw a boy who wanted to help, even when he didn't know how. Tonight, I finally understand what you've been trying to do all these years. You never stopped being Santa's helper. You just found a way to do it that nobody else could see. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. I'm sorry I let you feel alone. You were never alone, sweetheart. You were always exactly who you were meant to be. I love you more than you'll ever know. Mom." I have to sit down. The words blur as tears I didn't know I was holding back finally spill over. Colleen moves to sit beside me on the couch, her hand gentle on my shoulder. "She's been carrying that picture in her purse for 20 years, she says softly. "She showed it to me once when you were in college. Said she knew you'd find your way eventually." I look up to find Dad standing in the doorway, his face unreadable. He holds up his phone, the screen showing a news article with the headline, "Christmas Miracle, Record-Breaking Delivery Success Despite Major Storm System." "The Weather Service is calling it impossible," he says quietly. "They're saying the storm should have grounded everything, but somehow gifts were delivered to every single house on the eastern seaboard." He looks at me directly. "That was you, wasn't it?" I nod, unable to speak. "I spent 32 years trying to turn you into something you weren't," he continues. "I thought success meant conformity. I thought worth meant following a path I could understand." He pauses, struggling with words that don't come easily. "I was wrong about everything." Mom reaches over and squeezes my hand. "So what will you tell him? Santa?" I look around the room at my family, at Mom's proud smile, at Colleen's supportive nod, at Jeremy's respectful silence, at Dad's awkward but genuine attempt at understanding. For the first time in my life, I feel seen. Not just by Santa or the elves who call me boss, but by the people whose approval I've been chasing my entire life. I already know, I say, and I realize it's true. I've known since the moment I saw my code running on that massive display, coordinating thousands of deliveries, bringing joy to millions of children. I've known since Santa bowed to me in this very foyer. I've known since I fixed the storm routing and watched the system I built adapt and evolve in real time. I'm going to say yes. 1 year later, I'm standing in the same command center, but now it feels like home. The warehouse hums with purposeful energy as elves prepare for another Christmas Eve operation. My office overlooks the entire floor, and through the glass walls, I can see the intricate dance of logistics that has become as familiar to me as breathing. Boss calls out YULEBOT 3000, now upgraded to version 4.2 with enhanced personality protocols. We've got optimal weather conditions across all flight zones. The new routing system is performing flawlessly. I smile, watching the holographic displays show delivery progress in real time. The algorithms have evolved far beyond my original code, incorporating machine learning that adapts to changing global conditions, population shifts, and even fluctuating belief patterns. What started as a simple logistics program has become something approaching artificial Christmas magic. A soft chime alerts me to an incoming message. On my personal tablet, a hybrid of technology and North Pole engineering that still amazes me, a Christmas card appears. The return address makes my heart skip. Noel Raines, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I open it carefully, revealing a simple message in my father's careful handwriting. I was wrong. Merry Christmas, son. Dad, that's all. No flowery apology, no dramatic declaration of love. Just 6 words that represent more growth than I ever expected from a man who spent 32 years certain he knew what success looked like. I set the card on my desk next to the framed photograph Mom gave me last Christmas. 7-year-old me surrounded by electronic components, unknowingly preparing for a destiny I couldn't have imagined. Mr. Raines, an elf appears at my door, clipboard in hand. Santa's ready for the final briefing. I nod. Straightening my tie, North Pole dress code allows for both professionalism and Christmas spirit. As I walk toward the launch pad, I catch my reflection in the polished floor. The anxious, uncertain man who walked into his parents' house last Christmas Eve is gone, replaced by someone who knows exactly where he belongs. The sleigh awaits, reindeer pawing eagerly at the launch pad. Santa grins as he sees me approach, his eyes twinkling with pride and anticipation. Ready for another Christmas miracle, Noel? I climb into the sleigh, settling into the co-pilot seat that was custom built for me. The night sky stretches endlessly above us, stars twinkling like navigation beacons. Somewhere below, millions of children are drifting off to sleep, trusting in magic they can't see but somehow know is real. Ready, I say, and mean it completely. The reindeer launch us into the aurora-lit sky, and I guide our flight path using systems I helped design. Algorithms that ensure every child's Christmas morning will be filled with wonder. I'm no longer chasing my family's approval or trying to prove my worth to anyone else. I'm exactly where I belong, doing exactly what I was meant to do, bringing joy to the world, one perfectly optimized delivery route at a time. The North Star shines bright above us, but tonight, I know I'm following my own star, the one that led me home to myself. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.